Today's lesson is over 6.7, Part A, Simple Interest. Interest is money paid or earned for the use of money. The principal is the amount of money borrowed or deposited. So simple interest is money paid or earned only on the principal amount. And we can find the simple interest using this specific formula. I equals PRT, where I is the interest, P is the principal, R is the rate or the percent in decimal form, and T is the time in years. Now, for all simple interest problems, we're going to use this same formula and plug in the pieces that we know to find the piece that is still missing. Here in example 1, it says you put $500 in a savings account. The account earns 3% simple interest per year. So in example 1, what is the balance of the account after 9 months? Now, remember that time is in the form of years. So we need to convert 9 months into years. Well, what do we know about years? Well, we know that in 1 year there are 12 months. So if we have 9 months out of the 12 months, 9 out of 12 is 3/4 or 0.75. Now we're going to use the decimal form since our rate is also going to be in a decimal. So we know that this is going to be the t or the time for this equation. So always start by writing the equation or the rule so you know what you're substituting. So the $500, the amount that we start with, that's the principal. So 500 times the rate. We know the rate, 3%, written as a decimal, is 0.03. We now know the time, 0.75 years. So here you can see that the only piece that we're missing is the simple interest. Now, these items, these numbers here are all being multiplied. All right. So what I like to do is I like to use mental math to see if I can multiply any of them to make it a little easier before I have to do long multiplication. So I know that 5 times 3 is 15, and I have 2 zeros to add on the end. And I have 2 digits behind my decimal point. So now I have 15 times 0.75. And I can now long multiply these to find my answer or my amount of interest. So my amount of interest here, when I multiply, is $11.25. So this is how much interest my account earns in the 9 months. Now, if we look back to our question though, it says, what is the balance? So what's the total in that account after the 9 months? Well, we can find the balance by adding the principal, principal plus the interest to get the balance. So we know that the principal was 500 and we know that the interest was $11.25. So the balance in this account after 9 months would be $511.25. Now let's take a look at number 2. You put $350 in an account. The account earns $17.50 in interest in 2.5 years. What is the annual interest rate? So what's the rate? That tells us that our variable, our missing piece, is going to be R. So interest is $17.50. So we start with that. The principal, the amount we start with, $350. We know that R is our missing piece, and time is 2.5. Now, I'm going to go ahead and simplify by multiplying 350 times 2.5 to get 875. So now, 875R, those two things are being multiplied, and we use an inverse operation to solve. So the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So divide by 875 on both sides to find the rate. When you long divide 1750 by 875, you're going to end up with 0.02. But remember, we're finding our annual interest rate, which is a percentage. How do we change 0.02 to a percent? We can take the decimal and move it 2 times to the right. So the annual interest rate in problem number 2 is 2%. Let's now take a look at number 3. So it says in example 3, how long does it take an account with a principal of $10,000 to earn $750 in interest? Well, if we go back to example 3, it says an account with more than $5,000 earns 3%. So we can set up our equation using our I equals PRT. We know that the interest needs to be equal to $750. We know that our principal is $10,000. We know that our rate is 0.03. Remember, you're changing that percent to a decimal. How long does it take? That's telling us we're looking to find the time. So now again, we can multiply 3 times 1 is 3. We have 4 zeros that need to be added. And we have 2 places behind the decimal. Now, if you struggle with mental math multiplication like this, there's nothing wrong with multiplying long-handed. I'm just trying to save time for your guided notes and for your videos. So I'm going to use these mental math tricks. So again, 10,000 times 0.03 is 300 T. Now remember, these are being multiplied, so the opposite would be to divide. When we divide by 300, 750 divided by 300 is 2.5. So when we're asking how long does it take, remember T is in years. So our answer would be 2.5 years. Now, in number 4, it says you borrow $200. The interest rate is 12%. You pay off the loan after 2 years. How much do you pay for the loan? So when you take a loan to help you pay for something, you're going to pay interest. You're going to pay an additional percentage for the bank or the company to let you borrow that money. So it's like an additional fee. So let's take a look at how number 4 works. We're going to use the same formula, the I equals PRT, to find the amount of interest. How much we borrow is the principal at 12%, 0.12 for 2 years. Now, I want you to take a minute and pause the video to solve for the amount of interest. Now, once you've multiplied 200 times 0.12 times 2, you should find out that there's an interest of $48. This is the additional amount you're going to pay to borrow this money. If we go back to our question, it's not asking us how much interest. It's saying how much do you pay for the loan? So how much total do you pay? Well, we borrowed 200 and we pay an additional $48 in interest. To find the total we pay for the loan, we can simply add those two items together. So 200 plus 48 is going to tell us that we've paid $248 for this loan. Now, 7 through 10 are basic interest problems. You're either going to find the interest, the principal, the rate, or the time. There's one of each. I want you to take a few minutes to truly try these on your own. Okay, use that I equals PRT formula and come back when you're ready to check your answers. As you can see, I've now completed 7 through 10 here for you. Now, again, please try working them out before just copying the answers down. So interest equals principal times rate times time. 1200 times 0.02 times 5 is going to give you an interest rate of $120. Make sure that you're labeling your answers. In number 8, 25 is the amount of interest. So 25 equals 500 times 0.05 times t. Divide both sides by that 25 to find that t equals 1, which is 1 year because time is always in years. For number 9, we're trying to find the rate. So 76 equals 800 times r times 2. We start by multiplying 800 times r to get 1600. Divide by 1600 on both sides to find that r equals 0.0475. Now remember, this is a decimal and we're looking for a percentage rate. So we have to change the decimal to percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right. So the annual interest rate here is 4.75%. When your answer is a percent, you always have to have the percent sign to tell what kind of number it really is. With number 10, we're finding the principal, the amount we start with. So 119.88 equals P times 0.036 times 3. Now we multiply 0.036 times 3 to get 0.108. Divide by that number on both sides to find that the principal is $1,110. So that's how much we're starting with. Now remember, no matter what piece of information you're trying to find, you're always going to use that same formula, I equals PRT, and solve for the missing piece.